So, can everyone see me? Wonderful. So, greetings, everyone. It has been a while since the last time, and in the comments I saw some messages, and there was interest so that we could do another one. So here we are. Unfortunately, the life hasn't returned to normal since the last time, but somehow we have to stay connected and share. So I already saw some questions about practicing in the comments under the Instagram announcement about practicing and how much I practice. I try to stay in shape. I practice every day, about 1.5 hours or 2 hours with breaks. I choose the pieces that are interesting for me to play and that are quite demanding technically. And some of the pieces that I have recorded over the years. And I try to make better something every day. So there is one question that I see if I've ever imagined myself as a principal trumpet in an orchestra. No. And I can explain why. I started to play solo since a very young age, since the age of 10. And I really enjoyed it since then. I have great respect towards my colleagues who play in the orchestras, and I would never say that this is easier than to play solo. It's just different. It's a different repertoire, and I haven't had this experience. So if I ever wanted to do that, then I would have to train quite a long time before attempting to do that, actually. If there is a difference in technique between a soloist and an orchestral trumpet player, I wouldn't know, because for that I need to have the orchestral experience, which I haven't had. I see some friends online that are watching. That's very nice. So a special hello. About the embouchure, I can tell you how it has happened with me. I was lucky; I never changed it, and I keep on playing like I do right now since the very beginning. I don't know if it's correct or not, but it stayed like this, and I'm not planning to change anytime soon. Somehow it feels natural. And even though I saw some comments, that I hold trumpet very low, well, this is how it is. I think it's very individual. If I've ever considered recording with cornet, not yet, and I don't have a cornet yet, I must say, at the moment. But at times I use a different mouthpiece since recently with a considerably deeper cup, which gives to the trumpet this cornet sound feel. Questions are coming in. So If I've ever practiced Arbon and Clark, I use a little bit of Clark for warming up, the basic one, ta da 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 da. And from Jean-Baptiste Arbon, I only played variations from the end. Not all of them. I played obviously Carnival of Venice, Fantasie Brillante, variations on the Tyrolean song, and variations on Norma. These are, I think, the most interesting ones. How many years I played trumpet? Well, I'm 43 now, and I play since the age of 9. Will I ever return to performing piccolo trumpet? I performed last December this piece by Handel, Let the Bright Seraphim, in Moscow, and my dear friend Kirill Soldatov let me use his Scherzer piccolo. So thank you very much again, Kirill. I know you're here. That was the last time, but I don't have any particular interest for piccolo in general, not yet. But I must say that I listen to my colleagues with the greatest pleasure who play piccolo beautifully. There's an interesting question. How I got my technique without intense technical practice? Well, I wouldn't say that I haven't had an intense technical practice. I just worked on my technique in a different way and I was playing different things. So rather than playing etudes, I would choose some difficulties in the pieces that I actually needed to play on stage, and I would work on them directly. This is how it went with me. There is a question in French. How I do when I cannot make a sound? Well, usually I can make some sort of sound at least. But there are days when I feel that I need a longer warm-up, so that my embouchure needs kind of more time to be awake. And in that case, I take time a little more than usual, which is still shorter than with an average trumpet player, I think. But I focus more on the lower range because low tones, first of all, we need a low range in our playing because everyone is so much focused on the high range that we often forget about the low range. And the low tones are very useful because this is like massage for our embouchure, for our lips, and it gives this sort of special vibration, and it makes it more awake and more sensitive. I would also like, yes, I see a question from Japan. I would also very much like to go back to Japan. I've been traveling there since '95, and every time it was a great experience. So unfortunately, my tour was cancelled already twice and postponed, so I hope at some point it will still happen. Question about circular breathing. Well, it doesn't work unless you try, so keep on trying, and it's fun, and you have nothing to lose really, so just keep on trying. The principles of circular breathing are very common and there is already so much information about it on YouTube, so you can just search and check. Okay, there is a question about trumpet recordings for auditions. I haven't had stress back then when I was a kid, somehow. Maybe certain things, if I had to do today, the very same things, I would have been more stressed nowadays, because I would be more conscious and probably overthinking about it. But if one needs to make a recording for some audition, well, I don't think there should be any stress, because, well, if it doesn't work, you just play again. You can make another try. And then when you are satisfied with your recording, then you send it away. About my career and how it was affected with this COVID thing. Since March, I've performed on stage only twice. I had 2 performances, one in Germany and one in Italy. Everything else was cancelled. I've been practicing at home, teaching a little bit, and I'm just trying to stay in shape. How long it took me to perform the Carnival of Venice? Well, my practice sessions were supervised by my father for so many years, so he made sure that I was practicing in the most efficient way. So obviously he made me practice slowly and without any compromise, a lot. Some months, I guess. Back then I didn't have that many concerts. I was still 10 years old. Do I believe in the value of solfège and what about mouthpiece practice? Well, music education is important, so it is important. Mouthpiece practice, I don't do that, but I would not say that this is not helpful. It's just I haven't had this experience so far. All these years I did without, but I can believe that it does help a lot to many of my colleagues. Another question. There are many questions coming in. Exciting. If I have a concert in the evening, I prefer not to practice in the morning in order to keep all my energy for the actual concert, because what's the point? I probably would have a good rehearsal, and then I would not be able to give 100% of what I can to the audience. It would not be fair towards them. So that's why I prefer to rehearse the day before, to keep really fresh for the concert, to be in the best possible shape. French people will not be able to go out at night. Well, we have a curfew from 9 in the evening until I think 6 in the morning for at least 4 weeks, now maybe even 6. So this is not fun at all. And the restrictions are here. But I must say, just about 1 week or 10 days ago, I was able to go to a piano recital to listen to a beautiful concert with Bach Goldberg variations that I really enjoyed. And there was approximately 70% of the whole of the audience. But now, with the new restrictions, it's no longer going to be possible, unfortunately. Have I ever considered using a 4-valve trumpet rather than a flugelhorn? I have a prototype, a very old prototype of a Courtois 4-piston trumpet, but somehow it wasn't a very convincing instrument. But in principle, it could be useful for certain pieces, and I even have ideas about which pieces I could play with it, but it would not replace a 4-piston flugelhorn. And in general, flugelhorn is not a trumpet replacement. It's a whole different instrument with its own voice. Have I ever played Brunt 1 live? Yes, but a long time ago. Katerina Ishenko is asking, do you keep your best performance in mind, or what's gone is gone for good? I'm not sure if I understand the question, but I do remember some of the concerts that I thought went well, but I don't necessarily think of it very often. Rehane Adadjan is writing, I hope that one day I can come to Iran. Well, I hope there would be a possibility one day for me to go there, but since I'm Israeli, I think it's unfortunately is quite impossible at the moment. I wish the political situation in the world would be more sane and peaceful, and I wish there would be more people in the world who would appreciate arts and everything beautiful that we have in our lives, rather than thinking about wars. So many terrible things happening in the world right now. What is my connection with Israel? I am Israeli. Shalom. I was born in Russia, and since 91, I am Israeli. My family immigrated, as many other families from Russia. So, greetings. Which size mouthpiece I use? It's 1 1/4, 1 1/4 C Courtois. Very old embouchure, but lately I was testing new trumpets and new mouthpieces from AR Resonance. Antonio, who is a fantastic master, he's a good friend of mine, and I had this possibility to test his instruments and his equipment in general. But I'm a Courtois artist since '93. Unfortunately, they stopped making trumpets, so I have my very old one. Where is it? I show you. That's my old trumpet. There is unfortunately a small dent here now. And if somebody's interested, that's the model here, 303R. That's the old one, my old mouthpiece. That's my Courtois flugelhorn, if somebody's interested. This was the first prototype with the bigger bell, but now they make the bells even bigger on some models, and with a more round fourth slide, which is more like a French horn style. You can check Courtois website for it. And these are Antonio's instruments. Now he was experimenting with new tuning slides, and this one doesn't even have a water key. Not yet. So this is one of them. It's very funny. It's like a child showing his toys. Maybe many of us are like this. felt funny. I probably missed some questions. There were some questions about high tones. Well, I never trained specially to play high tones, but usually what I can do is enough for the repertoire that I play. Do I switch between mouthpieces a lot? Well, the mouthpiece for flugelhorn is a whole different thing. For example, that's my old one, and you can see how deep that is. It's a conical shape and very deep, almost like a French horn, and slightly different rim compared to trumpet, but it's also 1 1/4. So at least between these two, trumpet and flugelhorn, I do change. I apologize if I missed some questions, but I try to respond. Adrian is writing about my focus while playing. That's very important, and this is what helps me to fight against this adrenaline on stage, which I was experiencing the last years. So really, my number one advice how to be less nervous on stage is to focus as much as you can on the music that you are playing, on that musical story that you are telling. And obviously being well prepared helps a lot. Like this, at least you won't have this feeling of guilt that you could have practiced better, but you haven't, maybe. Stefan is asking, did I put Ponchielli on my repertoire? Well, I was supposed to play that piece for the first time in spring, I think in April, but this performance was cancelled or postponed. It's a fun piece. So I'm planning on to bring this on stage. Привет из Петербурга, да. Взаимно. I never wanted to quit playing trumpet. No, I really enjoy. I really enjoy playing, even though there are very often days when I don't feel that I'm in shape, but still I can do something for my improvement, I think. There are ways to, even on those days when nothing works, to do something useful. At least that on the next day it will be better. And I feel very lucky that I was able to become a musician and to have had this life that I had so far. So very grateful, first of all, to my parents, my family, my sister also, that means, and to the musicians that supported me over the years, and to my friends. Yes. So never had any regret, definitely. What's music for me? Well, music is my life. I cannot imagine my life without music. My favorite pieces to play with trumpet or flugelhorn? Well, there are many. First pieces that comes to my mind with flugelhorn would be probably Haydn C Major Cello Concerto, Rococo Variations by Tchaikovsky. With trumpet, and maybe even though it's played so often, but I still really like to play Aratunian Concerto, for example. I think it's a wonderful piece. And then there is another piece that now came to my mind, concerto by Eino Tamberg, Estonian composer. I have played it only twice in my life, but it's a piece that I really like. There are other, obviously, works that I could name. Have I ever suffered from cracked notes and mispitching problems? Well, I've ever kicked on stage or played out of tune. Definitely, yes. Sorry, just a human being. But what we should do is really give 100% of ourselves when we practice. And we have to be really demanding. And every time we are not 100% satisfied with our playing during our practice sessions, we have to make it better. There should not be that's okay during practice. It's either good or it's not. And if it's not, it has to be repaired. That's this is one of the main principles that my father taught me. It's to do or not to do, because if it's not good, then what's the point? Is the AR prototype tuning slide I showed a square type? Well, I have different ones. This is the most squared one, and this is a prototype. I'm just testing it. And then there is kind of this one, and another one is, if I can find it now. Is like this. This was the original one. It gives a different feel. So it's hard to sell which one is better. One would have to try. It's so individual with mouthpieces, trumpets. You just need to try yourself. It's like advising which shoes to wear. I cannot decide for you what is comfortable for you to wear. You need to try yourself. Do I like my own sound? It depends on the day. Did I suffer from fatigue sometime during my career? There was times when I felt that I had too many different programs in a very short time. And it was mentally quite tiring. Just too many travels. And it was quite hard to, again, to give 100% of what I can. So there was a few stressful periods. How to practice efficiently? And that's a good question. Don't play many times from the beginning to the end of the piece. Find the problematic spots and work on those spots with breaks. Work slowly so that you can see in details every note and the connection between every two notes. Perfection it, and don't play loud when you practice, except when you want to maybe go through and make like a performance go through thing. In Russian now for my friends, because there was a question in Russian. По поводу мундштука и по поводу моих инструментов. В течение многих лет я играл на трубе и продолжаю играть на трубе Антуан Куртуа. Мундштук тоже Куртуа 1 с четвертью. Флюгельгорн Антуан Куртуа с большим раструбом, 4-пистонный. Мундштук 1 с четвертью, но который очень глубоко просверлен. И он такой конической формы внутри, практически волторновый. И сегодня я также пробую новые трубы итальянские, замечательного мастера Антонио Рапачоло. И мы друзья, и у меня есть эта возможность как раз посмотреть новые инструменты. So, I hope, надеюсь, что я ответил на вопрос. So now back to English. About lips getting tired. Well, check if maybe you press on the lips too much. And then every question about embouchure, it's impossible to answer here right now. I would have to see, and I must say I'm not an embouchure specialist because again I never changed myself. But there are colleagues of mine that work on this issue in details who have a lot more experience. For example, there is this German trumpet player Otto Sauter, who this is his specialty. He fixes issues. And if you have questions about high range, ask him again. Please teach me your method. I don't have a method. In my practicing, I do a lot of, how shall I say? I choose things to do with my intuition somehow. If my father arranges all my music, also orchestral parts, in many pieces that are published, yes, he did. He didn't do it since quite a long time already, but in those pieces like Tchaikovsky Rococo again, for example, yes, he did. Yes, my father is a very talented man. How to improve the tongue speed? By practicing slowly. Also fast at some point. Of course, if you never try to play fast, then you never do it. But first of all, first stage is to learn how to walk before you try to run. Otherwise, you just fall. So practice soft and slowly. Rhapsody in Blue. I was 14. Do we focus too much on exercises rather than working on the music? That's a good question. I think every time you pick up your instrument, you should ask yourself, what's your goal today? And what's your final goal? What's your purpose? What do you want to achieve? Yes, okay, we need to warm up, but then what do we do? And for what? We decide to play some etudes, for example. Then what for? To improve the technique? Fine, but are you going still to have enough energy to work on your repertoire? Because if the final result is that etude, perfecting your etude, I mean, I don't think for the audience it would be very interesting to listen to that etude. So at some point, those exercises should serve some purpose, I think. My father used to be in charge of practicing with me, correct, for many, many years. Do I still have someone whom I turn to for advice when I'm preparing a new piece? It would be, for example, either still my father, if I visit my parents, they live in Israel. And when I'm at my parents' home, I start to feel again like a teenager, because I'm there practicing with my father, him giving me advices. It's a very interesting feeling. Well, I hope it will be still going on for many years. And yes, unfortunately, I haven't seen them since almost a year. So yes, I miss this. Otherwise, of course, my sister. And when we meet. And last years, I've been working already since quite many years with Maria Mirovic, this pianist that we often play together. We have this partnership since already 2003. So we did many programs together. We perform often. So I totally trust her advices. Do I think that the classic Bach 37 design needs to be upgraded or replaced by some new shape? No. It's very individual. There is not only one proper instrument to play. It's like with shoes again. Well, we have the chance, at least today, in the 21st century, at least, maybe not for all of us, but for most of us, that we can choose and we can try at least different instruments. Because, for example, when I was growing up in Soviet Union, we didn't have a choice of trumpets at all. Those instruments that I was playing were really, really old and bad. Believe me, my Russian colleagues would agree with me. Just imagine that, let's say in 1989, 88, maybe even a good salary would be 200 rubles. It would be a good salary of a person. And the cost of, let's say, Bach 37 would be around 5,000. So absolutely impossible. Which other contemporary players do I listen the most? Mostly jazz trumpet players, I must say. But sometimes I listen to my colleagues who play classical music, obviously, with all my respect and admiration to them. But I listen more to jazz lately when I talk about trumpet. Otherwise, I listen a lot to piano music, string players. Yes, and I think that most of us should also listen a lot more to other instruments than just trumpet. An example of a technical passage that I was working on recently. Well, those would be passages from Introduction and Rondo Capriccioso by Saint-Saëns, another arrangement by my father. So, for example, that's a piece that I'm practicing nowadays at home to keep in shape. And each difficult passage could be considered like a mini etude. So There is my technical work. I'm sorry again if I missed some questions, but I'm really happy that you all are here. Greetings to the United States and to my colleagues from the United States. My opinion on rotary trumpets, I never played on stage one, but I tried, and I could imagine trying to play, for example, a Haydn trumpet concerto on a rotary B-flat trumpet one day. I haven't tried so far, but it would be a slightly different feeling, and I would maybe one day try that. Telling the story of the music while performing, well, it's abstract. This is not a story about something in particular, but this is expressing your emotions, how you feel about the piece or about certain phrase. This is like talking to somebody. When we speak with different intonations. So this is like telling us something. Maybe for somebody it would be easier to imagine something in details, something in particular, but it doesn't necessarily have to be something detailed, I think. My practice routine, usually a short warm-up. I play a little bit of Clark in the low range. Then my trumpet case is a little far at the moment, so I'm not going to do it right now. Next time. So after this warm up, after Clark, I do one exercise from Pierre Thibault for flexibility, on legato, and then in different keys. Then I do a modified vocalise from Timofey Dokshitzer's book, which goes ta 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 ta. Sorry, I'm a terrible singer. And but this exercise I do a little bit differently because I go towards the pedal tones, and then I do lip slur at the end a little bit, and then go back to the pedal range. So it would cover all range. How long it took me to get the Carnival of Venice? Before I played it on stage for the first time, as I said, some months, but then to be able to play it properly now, for example, I would need to practice to get it in shape. It would take probably a couple of days, I guess. If I haven't played it for quite a long time, and I haven't right now. How to improve the double tongue? Soft and slow, like with triple. Make sure that your K sound is equal to your T, that you articulate properly and that you can hear the repetitions equally. There is a question in Russian, if I've tried mouthpieces and trumpet by Monet. No, I have not. And again, an ideal trumpet, this is very individual. Насчет, я скажу по-русски тоже. Я не пробовал трубы муштуки фирмы Monet. А по поводу идеальности, я думаю, что это очень индивидуально. I've never considered anything other than the career of a soloist. No, not yet. Again, a question in Russian. Играю ли я приемы выгибания языка? Я даже не знаю, что вы имеете в виду. Я прошу прощения. Top 3 best trumpet players ever. Well, I can tell you which trumpet players inspired me. The first was Timofey Dokshitzer, of course. And then I discovered, of course, Maurice André, Wynton Marsalis, and Rafael Mendez. There are many other amazing trumpet players that I listen to, of course. And I remember, for example, that also still I was living in Soviet Union. I heard recordings, for example, of Alen Vizouti or Georgi Geiger from Hungary. I was very impressed as well. And then later, I took lessons with Guy Touron, and I can name many other trumpet players. I do not play any other instrument for hobby. No. When I was a child, I played 3 years piano. I wasn't any special, and it was rather a disappointment for my parents. So I love piano, but just as a listener. It's good for everyone that I do not approach this instrument too close. Ekaterina Ishenko is asking about my father. I think it's both. If he praises me or he thinks that I could have done better. I think it's both. Somehow. Tips about articulation in Haydn concerto. I don't think there is only one way how one can play that piece as well as any other piece. So I guess I would need to hear one particular version to have an opinion. Myself, I don't think I play exactly the same way every time. At least I hope I don't. The best piece to show my technique. Well, first of all, to show my technique. Is it the ultimate goal to show our technique? I think most important, the whole thing should be about the music rather than just the technique. Of course, if we play a showpiece, this sort of a circus thing like a Carnival of Venice or any other virtuosic piece, yes, well done. It's 99% about the technique. I could name many, but I think even when we play a slow piece, we can show our technique. By the way, think about that. If I ever come off stage very disappointed with my performance? Short answer, yes. What inspired me to play the cello concerto by Haydn? Once I heard it live, and I was back then still traveling with my father. We looked at each other and we both understood that we got at the same time this idea that maybe I could try to play that piece. And then he arranged it for me. I started to practice, and here we are. Will I release my new CD? I think this winter then there should be a release of my double CD, which will it will be one of those CDs will be a re-release of the project Vidmonk with 2 bonus tracks, and another CD will include Ad Absurdum Concerto, which was previously released in the project of the Irish Chamber Orchestra, but I kept the right to put it in my own CD as well. And to that, I have added 2 more concertos previously unreleased, which is the Mozart Horn Concerto played with flugelhorn, as well as Haydn Oboe Concerto played with flugelhorn as well in the kind of a cello version, but instead of C major, in D major. So this will be the new box, which will be released perhaps in the winter. If I have if I'm on vacation, how long do I practice? Well, shall we consider that this is a very long vacation for most of us right now? So it depends. I must admit that very rarely there are days when I skip practicing. Very rarely. But usually it's better at least to have a short warm-up than not to play at all. Favorite movie of all times? It's hard to say. I can share with you that at this very moment, I'm watching for the first time Game of Thrones. And I liked a lot Breaking Bad as well. A Single Drop of Water in a Mighty River? No, it's not my favorite film. Favorite pianists? Well, from which generation? I know Vladimir Horowitz would be one of them, definitely. Marta Argerich, Grigory Sokolov, Arkady Volodosy, to give you a few names. If I can rate Enescu's Legend, I don't know how to rate it. I don't think. I don't know in which way I should rate it. It's a nice piece. About female trumpet players, I'm very happy for my female colleagues, and I don't think being male or female has anything to do with trumpet playing. This is about the music, and has nothing to do with our gender at all. The music should stay, first of all, for the ears. That's my opinion. So if my female colleagues have a successful career, I'm very happy for them. I do not have a C trumpet. So the sound, well, maybe it depends on the piece. I only play B-flat instrument, on B-flat trumpet, B-flat flugelhorn, and very rarely piccolo, also in B-flat. Hello to Brazil as well. A question from Ernst. Would I love to play a role in a movie again? Well, frankly, I don't think anyone would be interested to invite me as an actor. I'm not trained. And that one case in Japan happened accidentally, but it was a wonderful experience. So I was lucky. To recover from a completely broken embouchure, well, that's a sad story. Again, very individual. Better to ask my colleagues who actually take care of these embouchure issues. The best place I ever played at. Well, I've been lucky. I played at several amazing concert halls over the years. One of them was Concertgebouw in Amsterdam, for example, and some other places in Russia, in Germany. So to name only one would be difficult. But I must say that every time I return to my native city, Nizhny Novgorod, when I lived there, it was called Gorky, and I play in this Philharmonic hall where I played my first concerto with orchestra, Aratyunyan. Even though this is perhaps the worst concert hall in the world with terrible acoustics, for me it's a very special feeling because that's where it all started for me. My opinion about this Grand Russian fantasy is not my favorite piece of music. Again, this is in the same line with variations by Jean-Baptiste Arbon. So, well, nothing special. Just trumpet players that I listen to. Well, let me see. Eric Truffaz, and I'm sorry if the Z has to be pronounced or not. I still don't know. Niels Peter Movar, and obviously Miles Davis. By the way, you can see the book with his photographs just there. Dizzy Gillespie, Wynton Marsalis, and many others. And lately I've been enjoying a lot listening to many tracks with Jerry Hay horns. And they have recorded so much on the albums of Earth, Wind and Fire and Michael Jackson and you name it. Great music. And I was happy to meet these amazing trumpet players. So I can recommend this music. How do I work on my sound? Listen to yourself. The sound is not born in the trumpet. It's not born here. It's not born in our lungs. I think it's the idea of the sound that we should have in our mind. We need to know how we want to sound. And our sound can be different depending on the day or depending on the piece that we should play. The idea of the sound can be changed because our imagination is limitless. So when you pick up your instrument, you can try to imitate what you think of. So I hope I answered your question. Do I like Eric Miyashiro? Yes. Will I ever write my own trumpet concerto? I promise you, no. I will not do that. I don't have any composition skills. So fortunately for you, I'm not going to do that. So we've been here already for an hour. And the conversation starts to be a little bit strange at times. So my breathing, I will answer this one last question. And yes, greetings to Armenia. My warmest greetings. I always loved to go there. I have a strong connection with Armenia. And I feel very, very terribly sorry about what is going on there right now. About my breathing, the most natural way possible. There is a wonderful video where Rafael Mendes is talking about breathing. And he says that when we play trumpet, we should do it the same way as we do when we just speak. So think of it as natural as possible. At least this idea of breathing suits me. And again, I should say that I don't think there is only one way of doing it. There are my colleagues who breathe in a totally different way and they practice totally different. But this is so individual. There are my colleagues who say, many, that one should breathe only with the mouth and this sort of thing. And then there are other colleagues who say that one should breathe only with the nose, for example. I can only tell you how I'm breathing, and like right now. But I strongly advise to see that video of Rafael Mendes, and I think he was perhaps the greatest trumpet virtuoso of all times. So how to improve the second variation? In any variation, in any piece, any technical spot, which requires some speed, play slowly and on piano. This is your everyday bread. So I would like to thank you all for being here. And maybe we can do it again one day. In the meantime, I would like to wish all of you to stay safe, healthy. That's the most important. And I really hope for all of us that the life will come back to normal as soon as possible. And that very soon we can truly meet each other or have this chance to meet each other. So looking forward to playing for you live. I will be very nervous, I promise, but I'll try my best. What can I say? So again, be safe, good luck, and take care.